People say, oh, you are supporting Tinubu. Never. I can never support Tinubu. But you cannot tell me that somebody who has ever supported democracy has a moral right to be telling me how to do democracy. But sadly today, those people who were against democracy, who were against June 12, are the ones in power in Nigeria. Well, maybe the man who rigged himself into office now will say he fought for democracy. But the conversation is not about what he did and what he didn't do for today. Because most of them who claimed they were fighting for democracy actually ran away from the fight. We were the ones, as young people, who stood behind and fought the military until the military left power. 30 years later, you cannot say today that we have democracy. What we have now, nobody can define it as democracy. What we have now is sorrowcracy. That is government of sorrow for people who are always cheated out of their dividends of democracy. Tinubu came, he hasn't even lasted 2 weeks. Two things were of concern to him: how to punish the poor. And who are the poor? The same people who have always been cheated out of the Commonwealth of Nigeria. They removed fuel subsidy. I had the audacity to say this morning, I've not listened to his speech, that our people have been asked again to make some little sacrifices. I mean, how many sacrifices do you want from us? Especially when his friends, the rich, are getting richer on a daily basis, and the poor are getting poorer on a daily basis.
Yes, they have come out to say, oh, the neighboring countries are protesting. It's all propaganda. Oh, they have raised their prices. It's all propaganda. Let me tell you why. Nigeria is not the cheapest fuel in Africa. Libya sells fuel cheaper than Nigeria. Angola sells fuel cheaper than Nigeria. Egypt sells fuel cheaper than Nigeria. Now, if you look at these three countries that I mentioned, you may say they are far away from Nigeria as they are not our direct neighbors. But look, Nigeria is not the first country and is definitely not the only country to sell fuel cheaper than her neighbors. Like I mentioned before, Libya sells fuel cheaper than her neighbors. Egypt sells fuel cheaper than her neighbors. Angola sells fuel cheaper than her neighbors, and all of these three countries sells fuel cheaper than Nigeria. Now, if you go outside of Africa, you have Iran. It sells fuel cheaper than her neighbors. You have Venezuela. In fact, their fuel is so cheap, and it's much cheaper than her neighbors. Yet, these countries do not complain of their fuel being smuggled out. So why should Nigeria's case be different? And by the way, from the analysis that has been done by the governor of Nasarawa State and also by Mrs. Akpani, it becomes very clear that the only persons with capacity to smuggle these goods out are the major oil marketers themselves. So if really smuggling is the problem, increase in the price of petrol is not the solution. It is catching those smugglers and bringing them to justice. That's the solution. In any case, we were supposed to have a solution that we bought. The federal government, the FEC approved, FEC, yes, Federal Executive Council, approved a software worth about 50 billion naira in the administration of Buhari to monitor these tankers so that we can curb smuggling. Where is that software? If it's not active, where is the money? And by the way, I make bold to say that, in fact, there is no smuggling out. It's only an arrangement to make it look like there is smuggling. I want to believe, and this is my opinion now, that NNPC inflates the quantity of fuel that it brings in and then places the excess consumption on smuggling to support their subsidy claim. That's my opinion. But it makes sense. By the time we go to court and we subpoena documents and we get the true evidence, I'm sure we'll be able to clear all of these. But in any case, in any case, increasing the price of fuel so that it can be more expensive or at par with our neighbors is not a solution, considering the fact that we have not put infrastructure in place, electricity, good road, good education, good health care. We have not put those things in place. We have not worked on creating jobs that will empower people and increase their spending power. So just increasing the fuel price would definitely not be the first way to go. If it is smuggling that is a problem, the smuggling can be dealt with.
That is no more sacrifice that our people can offer. But the reason why they did that was because they don't want you to enjoy any democracy. As far as they are concerned, the only democracy that is acceptable to them is democracy that puts them permanently in power. And that is why today when I woke up, I didn't feel good, because I looked at it and said to myself, the people who are going to Abiola's house today, as usual, are the people who fought against democracy, or those who did not fight any fight for any kind of democracy, but they want to benefit from it. I heard that Omoyele Sowore is going to lead a march to Abiola's house today. I was a student in this country, and I think Sowore is about my age. I never heard that Sowore participated in any protest during the June 12 era. I doubt it. But all of them, as the opportunists that they are, that's why I woke up this morning and called them. Today is the National Day for Opportunists in Nigeria, NOD. And they're all going to head to Abiola's house. I would have loved us to even take a walk to the place. But that's up to you, the organizers. The second thing Tinubu did was to talk about how to fight to restore oil exploration in Niger Delta region. Because those are the only things that concerns them. Nobody is talking about how to end Boko Haram. He's not talking about how to end banditry. It is how to export the Lagos model of democracy to Abuja and nationalize it, which is this agberocracy that they do in Lagos. So I want to say this to so many of you, because I've been hearing this from the grapevine, that Yoruba people are saying, this is our turn, whether he rigged the election or not. Since your people have been doing democracy of the warped type, Yoruba land has never progressed. Yoruba can only progress when you have the right people in power. And that is why the last time anybody had it right here was when Awolowo was in power. And it was because he had a great character, not because he was able to bulldoze his way. And after Awolowo was bulldozed out of office, those who did it have not had peace till today in Nigeria. So as you know, anybody can say that it is because Sowore contested and lost the election in 2023. I did not lose election in 2023 because there was no election in 2023. You are hearing it from me. What they did was selection. That is why when they were about to allocate numbers, as usual, one of the most important numbers to allocate was Sowore's numbers. Give him small numbers so that people can mock him. But since they ended the election, the person who claimed to have won the election cannot jubilate. When I was arrested in 2019, it was a Emefiele that arranged for the judge, for the police, and everything to keep me detained. I'm revealing it to you today. He paid everybody. When I was released, he had the audacity to send a guy to me that he was the one who was teaching me a lesson. I told him that the lessons will go around. Shebi, you are teaching me a lesson. I'm not the one teaching him a lesson. But the lesson is not the kind of lesson we should mock anybody about. Because until Buhari is arrested, until Malami is arrested, until everybody in their cabal, Tunde Sabiu, that Richard card seller, who is Buhari's private secretary, until all of them are arrested, this one is a joke. After a while now, they will release Emefiele. Emefiele might even be contesting for governor of Delta State in another 2 years or 3 years. That's Nigeria for you. But the Nigeria that we want to bring about is not the Nigeria that is a joke of today. Because people have asked me, don't you see that Tinubu is trying? In 11 days, he has already met with traditional rulers. He has met with this person. I said, is meeting with traditional ruler governance? Is removal of petroleum subsidy governance? Is reading a national speech governance? And if you know Nigeria, everybody that has come to be Nigeria president, anytime they come new, they are always trying to fool people. And please don't be fooled. You are still dealing with the same people. And don't let it take too long before you realize that this is another scam.